All right, man. This is episode number 66 of the Cozy Corner of Cinema. This is being recorded on Saturday, July 1st, 2023 at 1:39 p.m. It's 4th of July weekend, appearing on a Tuesday this year. I'm sure many people are excited to be have time off work, or maybe you have a long weekend or something, or either way, it looks like we'll be having a lot of free time. And free time should be used in the way that you want to use it, man. And in my case, it will be used to the fullest extent. I gotta get that 1934 episode out. I got so much to do for that. I gotta take notes. I gotta put all my clips together. I gotta record the dang thing. Make sure I'm not talking like a crazy person. Gotta even rewatch a couple of films to get a refresher. But that'll get done, hopefully at the beginning of next week, maybe Monday or Tuesday, but time will tell, but it'll be out regardless, so we can get started on the next list, man. But yeah, it's just a really nice day out, man. It's got a little bit of a mugginess in the air that I think is kind of going away. I got the fans on in here, but it's not too hot. You know, I haven't stepped outside yet, but we'll see what happens there. But either way, it seems to be a nice day, and you're going to want to keep an eye out on the weather this upcoming next couple of days, you know. On 4th of July, if you want to grill, you want to be outside, or do whatever it is you want to do, you know, you want to make sure you're prepared for it. You don't want to, you know, buy all your equipment and food for, you know, you go to grill or something like that, and then you didn't even look and find out there's a thunderstorm happening or something like that. You're like, oh man, I got all this food now. I gotta go, you know, gotta bring it all back inside and stuff. You want to be on top of that, you know. But yeah, I guess we're officially now halfway through the year, depending on if you count June or July, beginning of June or July, as officially halfway through the year. And 2023 so far has been a really, really terrific year for films. You know, some of my favorite films I've seen this year, I think might be considered technically 2022 films. That is, were released in 2022 but didn't make their way over to America until now, or in some cases, you know, if it's like played at a festival or something like that, then they count it as 2022. I really don't know where the line is drawn for that, because the thing is, I've seen so many terrific films this year that I haven't even looked exactly at exactly what are 2022 and 2023 films. I mean, for the most part, if a film is widely theatrically released in a major, you know, cinema, then it's safe to say it's a 2023 film. But certain films you see, certain foreign films that maybe didn't make their way over to America until now, but have been released overseas, released in their native country beforehand. You know, I'm like, it was, you know, when I was talking about a film that I saw theatrically last year, Hold Me Tight, the Matthew Mallock film, which I have talked about so many times. I think it's just a beautiful film. I said that was one of the best films I had seen in 2022, but then that was technically a 2021 film, so when I did my top 10 of 2021, I rewatched that, and that ended up being on my top 10 of that year. I think that is just such an incredible film that still is not being talked about very much. Currently has a Blu-ray out. I got it in the last, actually, Kino Lorber sale. I don't know if they released it. I think it may have been a Cohen Media title, to my knowledge. Maybe. I actually don't know. But either way, that was part of the sale, and I grabbed that, and it was just so great to have that film. It's just such a terrific film. But then I look back at, like, the beginning of the year, and I would assume that the films that I saw at the very beginning this year would be considered 2022. Ultimately, not that it matters, but if you're trying to make some sort of comprehensive list, you know, you don't want to find yourself contradicting yourself. Like, when I put together my favorites of 2022, you know, I had both Broker and Skidamaric on that list. Those are two films that I thought were just great. But I saw both those theatrically in January of this year, so, but those would technically be 2022 films, you know. But if I'm talking about the best films that I've seen this year theatrically, then yes, both those two films would be up there. You know, I've sung the praises of both those films, and but you know, you don't want to put it on multiple lists or anything like that. Speaking of which, man, you know, I was watching a film, and I was like, oh man, you know, that I would like to go see the new Indiana Jones film. I typically don't a lot of the mainstream, bombastic, loud, theatrical films. I'm typically not very interested in. I don't get any kind of long lasting feelings from these films. It's more so just brief amusements that fades. But there was new Indiana Jones film out, and I said, oh, I'd like to go see that film. And I saw it was playing in IMAX, so I was like, okay, I'm going to go see it in IMAX. When is it starting? And I looked at the show times, and the one IMAX I was going to see it in, which is a proper full theater IMAX, traffic was just backed up way too much on the GPS. It was just like, it's going to take me way longer to get there. You don't want to sit in traffic all day, and I was just like, all right, I can't make that. But there's another IMAX about an hour in the opposite direction, which is attached to a Cinemark, and I was like, okay, when can I leave to go see this film? And I had about 10 minutes before I had to leave to catch it in time. And so I got out of my seat, and I was like, I guess I'm going to the IMAX to go see this film. And it was beautiful, man. Going down, it was almost all back roads, man. I try not to go on the highway if I don't need to. Just, crazy drivers, everybody speeding in and out of lanes, just unnecessary. But I'm driving down the street, all these back roads, driving through these small towns. It's only about an hour away or so I'm not, like, going too far or anything like that. But just these parts of the area I'd never been to before, these small towns, just all this history. You see the people walking around. It was a beautiful day out. I got the window down, the music's playing. It was just a beautiful sight, man. And, it just, you drive through these areas, and it's like a whole new feeling. Almost makes you emotional, man. It's just a truly beautiful experience that, if you live in certain parts of the country or live in a city kind of area, you're probably not going to get these sort of, kind of rural, suburban kind of landscapes. But it was just absolutely something else. But anyway, so I get to the cinema. I get in the theater, man, and, I'm sitting there and I'm watching this new Indiana Jones film. And I've said before, just the obnoxiousness of some of these trailers that you see of just loud films that are just completely devoid of any sort of intellectual stimulation. It's all just franchise, loud noises, bad, comedies. It's just all these, you're not going to get anything out of these. So, I'm watching this film, and, I'm watching the first 20 minutes. And I should also say, a big reason why I'd wanted to see this as well is, directed by one of my favorite filmmakers, James Mangold. Directed one of my favorite films, Copland, with Sylvester Stallone, Robert De Niro, Robert Patrick. It's just a terrific film. Ray Liotta. He's also directed many other terrific films. But I'm watching this film, and the first 20 minutes happen in a terrific action sequence. The theater is loud, the screen is huge, and I'm watching it, I'm going, oh man, I'm engaged in this. And I'm watching halfway through the film. There's a action sequence in the middle of the film. There's a car chase on these little kind of like motorcycles that they're going through the streets and stuff. And it was at that moment I realized, like, my God, man, I'm sitting in this theater in these comfortable seats, and I am watching a big budget Hollywood spectacle, and I am enjoying myself. I am happy to be in the cinema at this moment. I am not nauseated. I don't want to throw up at the just completely senseless and nonsensical directing choices or acting choices. Ultimately, when you watch a film like this, you can, the script, man, it ain't as tight as could be. There are in any of these kinds of films, there are plenty of plot conveniences. There are tons of moments of suspending reality, suspending disbelief. But when I was sitting there in that cinema, I just was completely enjoying myself. I was completely enjoying the experience. I was not waiting for it to end. I was not thinking about other things. My mind was not wandering anywhere. And by the time the ending came up, and it says directed by James Mangold, and the lights go up, I thought, my God, man, I'm happy to be in this cinema right now. And it could be, you watch so many highbrow films, you watch so many foreign films that you actually will get something out of that will stick with you and make you really ponder and come back to them. And when, I've been watching really just primarily that when I go see a film like this, where it is all spectacle, but it's all fun, and, it's enjoyable, and the action scenes are well done, and most of the comedy works, and it's the feeling that, like, wow, man, this really is the theatrical experience. This is being in a cinema with other people who are laughing at the jokes, who are responding to the film. You're seeing a film like this on a giant screen, and you feel like you're part of the action, part of the film. And it just truly was such a riveting moment, man, to walk out of that cinema and go, wow, I'm walking out of the cinema with a smile on my face. I'm not walking out going, what did I just watch? This was nonsense. There's nothing to this. I walk out and I'm actually happy, man. And I go, wow, I've been so burned on so many terrible, just loud, theatrical, big budget films that seeing a film like this is almost like a breath of fresh air. And I should also say, I know the film itself. I don't give a damn about any kind of reviews or anything like that. I've read some, I've seen it didn't get like the best response and people like this, and on YouTube I already get recommended YouTube channels that are just like, oh, this was the worst film ever, this ruined the legacy, and anytime I see those kind of videos pop up, I don't even bother. I click don't recommend channel and I move on, man, because for a summer blockbuster, for a summer spectacle film that you watch and you just revel in the excitement and the action and the comedy, I think this is a really, really enjoyable summer blockbuster that I found myself just walking out of the cinema being like, wow, man, I actually enjoyed myself. Go figure. Really enjoyed that film. 2023 has had just tons of great films, man. I'm not going to go through a whole list or anything like that. I'm looking at my theatrical watches this year, and I've seen 86 films theatrically this year, possibly less, because 15 of those were short films for the Academy Awards. So ultimately, it's actually going to be I guess 71 feature films seen theatrically this year, but some good, some not good at all. Some, you ain't gonna get that time back, but it's the risks you take. But I look at the list here, man, and just looking back, when I get to the end of the year, I'll have to be more tight about what films are technically counted for 2023. But I guess, even just the last couple of months, just seeing so many great films. I talked about, like, Blackberry. I talked about... maybe I didn't. There's some of these I didn't talk about, but films like Blackberry, RMN, the new film from director Christian Mungi, who directed the great film 4 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days, which is actually a Criterion title. So if you're interested in that, you can get it this month on sale for $20. But Monica was a film that I thought was great. Master Gardener was interesting. The Eight Mountains was very good. Yogi Berra, It Ain't Over, great documentary. Other People's Children was a very interesting film. Costa Vermeer was a solid documentary. Blue Jean was a great film. Past Lives, which I just saw 2 weeks ago, it's a serious contender for, top 3 of the year so far. I don't know if I even have a favorite film of the year so far. I think maybe the closest would be something like One Fine Morning, or, I'm trying to think what else. Maybe The Innocent, maybe Showing Up. I think those 3 could probably be serious contenders for my favorites of the year in terms of a number 1 spot. Even though, none of those films are better than each other, but ultimately those 3 films, One Fine Morning, The Innocent, and Showing Up, I just got a lot out of, But even, like I said, even something like The Dial of Destiny, I just thought was such a riveting, fun experience, and just really makes you happy to be in that moment. And I tell you, man, it looks, July is already has a couple good-looking titles coming out. That new Mission Impossible looks fantastic, man. Talk about a series that really kind of took a complete trajectory. It's one of the few franchises that it's actually gotten better as time goes on. It's funny to see Brian DePalma's first film that he talks about in that terrific De Palma documentary, just called DePalma, directed by Noah Baumbach, and I think Wes Anderson was involved with that too, to my knowledge. I'm not exactly sure, but I recommend that. That goes all the way up to, I think that was filmed before Passion, because they show clips of that, but I don't think it had been out yet. I mean, I know the film came out after Passion, but he may have been interviewed before that. But basically, De Palma talks about all of his films, and it's a 90-minute film. You know, it talks about sort of the highs and lows of his career, so he was trying to do with each of his work. You know, each of his works. It makes you appreciate maybe some of his films I wasn't quite high on. You know, some of his later work, like Snake Eyes and Femme Fatale and Raising Cain. You know, I don't think any of those are bad films, but I don't think any of them are very good either. But it's interesting to see kind of his perspective on where he was at that time and what he was trying to go for with those films. I think I've seen almost all of his work except for I haven't seen The Black Dahlia. I haven't seen Obsession. I'd have to think about that. I think I've seen almost everything else that he's done. I don't know if that De Niro De Palma box set is still in print, but if you're able to get your hands on that, you're going to want to get on that, man. You got 3 films in there, The Wedding Party, Greetings, and Hi Mom. 3 very interesting films that are worth your time. And actually, a little while ago, when I read that book, Revolution, about sort of, I've talked about this book a couple times, but the 60s sort of international cinema, a lot of that was being made. At one point when I was talking about that, I never forgot that I stumbled over my words on this. When I was talking about Francis Ford Coppola's The Rain People being inspired by a French New Wave film, I actually meant to say Hi Mom by Brian De Palma. I don't know why I said The Rain People. I think that was just what I was thinking of at that time. I really don't know. I mean, The Rain People has kind of some of those elements, but Hi Mom is way more influenced by that, and that's the film that I actually meant to say. I don't know why I said that other film, but The Rain People is also a good film as well, also worth watching. R.I.P. James Caan. And actually, speaking of James Caan, R.I.P. Alan Arkin. I was talking a little while ago about one of my favorite discoveries of last year was Freebie and the Bean, that stars Alan Arkin and James Caan as 2 cops who are they do not have any sort of ethics or morals. They are causing all this property damage. They're saying the most un-PC things, and it was just such an enjoyable and funny and big, bombastic film that you actually walk away from remembering and wanting to recommend to people. But I also wanted to mention a film that I think cult fans are aware of, but I don't think is still in the general consensus unless you're, like I said, unless you're really on top of it. But it's the film he directed that has a Blu-ray from Indicator from, I think, 1974. I'm sorry, 71, with Elliot Gould, is the film Little Murders. And it's such an interesting and strange film. It makes Elliot Gould, when he was just really in his prime, just when he was playing not exactly similar kind of characters, but these sarcastic sort of stumbling through life sort of characters, but not being dumb, But in this film, he's really unhinged. There's a whole great moment where he's talking about how if someone's beating him up, he just spaces out of it. He doesn't even think about it, and the other character's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" This has a Blu-ray from Indicator right now. No stateside release, but would definitely recommend this film. And I already saw some people like Brian Sauer bringing this back up when the news of Alan Arkin's death broke. I should also say that the film was written by Jules Pfeiffer, who also wrote Carnal Knowledge from 1971, the same year, with Jack Nicholson, which is also a really great film as well. I don't know if that has a release right now or not. It might be part of that Lost and Found Criterion set. I really don't know. I'm trying to think. I could look it up, but yeah, I guess why not? I'll look it up. It might have a Blu-ray, but that's a really solid film as well, I gotta say. Does it have a Blu-ray? I don't think it does. It has an overseas Blu-ray, but it looks like nothing in the States. That's a shame, unless I'm missing something. But that's a great Mike Nichols film. Definitely worth watching. Yeah, it has an overseas Blu-ray from Arthouse, Haus. So you're gonna want to get on that, man. Also, I think, who is this? Oh, it's another company. Okay, Studio Canal has a Blu-ray of it as well. Interesting. Okay. From Japan. Okay. good to know. Well, that could use a Blu-ray at some point in the States. But yes, R.I.P. to Alan Arkin. Definitely want to get on some of those films. And he's interesting. He's one of these guys who really had longevity in his career. He never kind of faded out of the public eye. He was always in these really interesting films and was always doing good work, even up to like 2012 when he was in like Argo, which won Best Picture that year, and, had a sizable role in that. It really never kind of got out of the public sort of consciousness, but either way, usually whenever an actor or a director, anyone passes, you'll see people bringing up films that, hey, if you haven't seen this film, you should check this film out, or that's one of his lesser known films. So, RIP to him. It's a good opportunity to keep an eye out for recommendations. So there you go. If you haven't seen those two films, Freebie and the Bean and Little Murders, those are my two recommendations to you. I've been finishing up. I'm just about finished with that Norman Mailer book that I was talking about. I think I have about 150 pages left, so I'll probably get that done in the next week or two. And I actually just got in the mail a book I really can't wait to get into, which is about the making of The Dirty Dozen. Let's see here. Sorry, I was trying to pull the thing up. Yeah, but the making of The Dirty Dozen. I don't. The book's in the other room, but definitely will want to be reading that, man, because Dirty Dozen as well is just one of the best World War II films. Maybe the best one. I really don't know. I'd have to think about that. But anyways, I'm going to be reading that next. But I'm just about finished up with this Norman Mailer book, and I wanted to talk about this from a little while ago, but I wanted to wait. I wanted to wait to read the book to have a little bit more context, because I said before when I talked about Town Bloody Hall that I wasn't really familiar with Norman Mailer as a person. I didn't even know he was an author. I just knew him from the director of Tough Guys Don't Dance. I knew of his experimental work, the famous kind of clip of Rip Torn hitting him with a hammer. So I will admit, it's been a little while since I've seen this film, so I'm not going to be in depth. I have no notes on this, and truthfully, I didn't even know if I was going to talk about it this episode, so I'm not going to be talking about this for too long. But I did want to kind of mention it, especially now with context. His 1987 directorial, I think his only featured film directed, his experimental work are all shorts and stuff, but I believe, he had been involved with a lot of, let's see here. Okay, actually. Okay, not his feature directed film. I have not seen Maidstone or Beyond the Law. Let me see here. Yeah, no, I apologize. Yeah, this is actually his fourth film. I don't know why I forgot about these. I think these are more experimental films that he had talked about. Ooh, it looks like it's actually part of a Criterion set. I think it's an Eclipse set. Ooh, I'm gonna want to get on this, man. Wild 90 and Beyond the Law. Wow, this is the perfect time to get it. Oh boy, you guys listening to it? And Maidstone as well. Wow, that is cool, man. That is wicked. Oh man, that is so cool. Anyways. Tough Guys Don't Dance currently has a Blu-ray from Vinegar Syndrome, and I remember hearing, I don't know if it was Justin LaLiberty who's the main kind of guy at Vinegar Syndrome, or if it was somebody else really talking about how this was a personal kind of favorite for them, how it's a film that its reputation has kind of turned into a meme on the internet, where there's one scene in the film, famously, of Ryan O'Neal's character reading an envelope, and he has this really stinted, awkward line delivery, and Norman Mailer spinning the camera around in a strange sort of fashion, and you see that clip, and you're like, what the hell kind of choice is this? And it's funny to read up and how Ryan O'Neal didn't even want that in the film. He thought it was awkward and stinted, and Norman Mailer decided against it and decided to keep it in. This is also based off the novel Tough Guys Don't Dance, also written by Norman Mailer. But it's funny when you watch that clip out of context and then you watch it in the rest of the film with context. And I'm not saying that sequence isn't any less head-scratching when you watch it. I mean, you watch it and it's strange, but then in the middle of the film, it doesn't even feel that out of place. If that clip hadn't become kind of an internet meme, truthfully, I don't even think I would have thought twice about it, because it's such a strange film, but a film that I really like. It's a divisive film. Actually, I wish I had the Blu-rays in the other room. I don't want to get up and get it because I don't want to leave too much open air, dead air, I should say. But on the back of the slipcover, it says like different quotes, like, "Oh, this film was great. This film was terrible." It was got like a standing ovation at Cannes, but then it got nominated for a bunch of Razzies, or the Golden Turkey Awards. I don't know if they were called the Razzies then. I'm not sure, but you watch the film and it is strange, but it's oddly compelling. It's oddly engaging. Now, it's a film that all of the dialogue and all the acting, it feels like the actors are reading it for the first time. You don't ever really feel like these actors mean what they're saying. Like Ryan O'Neill's character, when he's talking to his father, played by Lawrence Tierney, you don't ever get a sense that they're actually related at all. It feels like they are just meeting for the first time in a way that all of the acting and all of the dialogue is like this. So it kind of makes me wonder whether or not how much of this was intentional, It's interesting to read the making of the film, how the film really went by with no problems. Everybody got along. There were some problems here and there. Norm Mailer had some issues with Lawrence Tierney, who's a notoriously kind of difficult actor who kind of was doing his own thing in this film. But this has Ryan O'Neil, who's a terrific actor. You've seen him in plenty of stuff, Love Story and What's Up, Doc, Barry Lyndon. And then, Isabella Rossellini, of course, from Blue Velvet and Heaven's Gate, just a terrific. Oh, I'm sorry. Was she? No, not Heaven's Gate. That's Isabel Hubert. I apologize. I'm thinking of something else. But she was in Fearless and films like that. All those terrific actors. So you have all these terrific actors, and Lawrence Tierney, who is a is a great actor. But you watch him in this film, and all of the dialogue and all of the acting is so consistent that it almost seems like an intentional choice, much in the way that you watch a David Lynch film. I don't know, Mulholland Drive or something like that, or Lost Highway, and all of the acting it's all the same stinted. I don't want to say awkward like a bad thing, because that's definitely not a dig at that film. But you watch Lost Highway or you watch Mulholland Drive or these kind of films, and all of the characters are acting in the same way that you're like, okay, this has to be intentional. And for Lynch, it is. We know he's a master filmmaker and has oh god. Just choking on my words there, has specific choices that he does, so it's all calculated, But with this film, it's just so strange at times, some of the choices, but completely engaging. I mean, you're watching this film, and a lot of the criticisms that I had in the film, the book actually addresses. More so, I wasn't aware this was based off a novel, but you watch it and it feels like it's based off a novel, because in the book, the Norm Mailer book, they talk about he had a lot of trouble because the book is done from different perspectives, I believe, or different situations. I'm paraphrasing here, I apologize, but the film, he had trouble with the screenplay getting this information out, without doing flashbacks or he had to do narration and stuff. So there's a lot of difficulties there. And halfway, I should also mention Wings Hauser in the film. Love Wings Hauser. If you guys haven't seen Vice Squad, you got to get on that White on Rice. What a terrific film. But halfway through, I'm watching this film, and it's such a strange thing to say, but I'm sitting there, I'm watching it, I'm completely focused, and I'm going, I don't know what the hell is going on in this film. I don't know where these characters are going. Characters just disappear. Plot threads disappear. It's a mess. However, it's an engaging mess, and that's going to sound like a backhanded compliment, and I sincerely promise you it is not, because it is such an interesting film nonetheless. Maybe a little too long. It runs about 110 minutes, but it does feel like, even though I don't really understand where the plot is going in a linear fashion, in terms of I don't know what's going on, I am completely engaged with this, and I really would have liked to have seen Mailer do some more work. Mailer talked about how much he enjoyed directing and how he, writing is such, as any writer knows, and it's such an isolated sort of almost egregious act, because you're forcing these words out of you, and obviously some people have easier times, the words just flow out of them, or a lot of times writers, just it can sometimes the words just flow right on the page, and other times you're just grasping at straws to get these out, so I really would have liked to have seen what else he would have done. I think if he had started filmmaking earlier, in terms of films like this, not the experimental stuff. I think he really could have produced some incredible stuff, but the clock's running out. I got about 20 seconds left, so I got to quickly wrap this up. Have a fantastic 4th of July weekend. Stay safe, have fun, get the work done, and I'll be back soon. All right, guys. You guys all take care.